Hi everybody, I'm back. I'm sorry if I haven't made a video last Monday. I just forgot. So, I'm sorry about that. And today we're not doing any collection videos or anything. Today, I'm going to be telling some stories today from my life. So you get to hear some of the stories that have happened to me. And today's story is going to be about storms, because I've been through quite a bit of bad storms in my life, and they sucked. So I'm going to tell you about the ice storm that happened, and I think it happened in, when did that happen? I think it happened in 2006 or 2005. I was pretty young still. I was like 5 years old or 6 or whatever. I don't know what year really, but anyways, I remember one night it was really, really cold, and our house was so old that we didn't have, heating in the house. So we had to go buy a bunch of heaters. Like, we had little space heaters and stuff. Even though those ain't really safe, but that's what we had to use and I also had a big, huge gas heater in my room. My house was really big, by the way, and I had a huge gas heater in my room. And so when the power went out, everybody would be huddling up in my room because that thing would stay on no matter what. If the power went out, it would stay on. So anyways, I think I was in my room. I was playing like Xbox. I was playing XX Tricky. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that, but it's a really old video game and it came out on the original Xbox. But I remember I was playing that game because it was my favorite game back then. And I was playing that, and then all of a sudden, I look outside, and it's like a blizzard outside. It was coming down like crazy. And then eventually, I was playing my game for a few hours. The power just went the heck out. It just went out, and we were sitting in the dark, and I was freaking out. I was wondering when the power was going to be back on. We looked outside, and you know what? It wasn't just our power. The whole town was out. I mean, it was dark as freak outside. Like, it was really, really dark. And you couldn't see nothing. No, there was no street lights. The whole town was out. And by the way, I lived in a really small town back then, like really small. You didn't even have a movie theater there. It was that small of a town. And the whole town went out. There was no power to the entire town. And of course, as a kid, you're always wanting to be entertained, so I was pretty much bored and probably annoying my parents. I can't really remember. But we decided to go outside to check out and see how bad it was. And we had neighbors beside us too, and their power also went out, and they were talking to us. But I don't remember what, because I was just a kid and I was like roaming around outside looking at all this ice and snow. There was icicles hanging off the power lines. There was like icicles everywhere on the power lines. Like, the whole power line was covered in icicles. And I remember we had this little peach tree. It was also covered in icicles. Like, it was really, really bad. But it looked really pretty. But it was bad because we didn't have no power, and it was cold in that house. And we were also hungry, and we couldn't cook any supper because the power was out, and the whole town was out, so you couldn't even go get food in town. So it's like, geez, where are we going to eat? And so we decided to go inside after the neighbors were done talking to us. We went inside, and it was still snowing pretty bad when we were outside. Well, actually, if I remember, I think it might have been dying down. But like I said, this was years ago, so my memory might be a little bit fuzzy. But I think it was died down enough where we can walk outside, and the snow like covered up my legs. Especially when you're a little kid, I couldn't even see my feet when I went outside. It was really covered in snow. But the roads were clear, surprisingly. They cleared the roads. And I think they salted the roads before it started, so, that's good. And we decided we were going to have to drive to Jonesboro, and Jonesboro's in Arkansas, so that gives you a hint where I used to live. So we had to go drive to Jonesboro, and when we got in our car and we drove to Jonesboro. Well, first, I think before we left, we were really bored. This might have been after we went to Jonesboro, I don't really know, but I remember we had a laptop and we were watching a movie on it. I think my dad downloaded it or something. I don't really remember, but I know we were like watching a movie and we were sitting in the car because that gas heater, it was good, but it didn't heat up the whole house. It just heat up my room, and we didn't want to sit in my room forever not doing anything, so we just went in the car and sat in there. And don't ask me why we did that. We just did. We went in the car, sat in there, watched a movie, and then I think we went to Jonesboro to get some food. And while we were driving through Jonesboro, there was icicles everywhere. It was even in Jonesboro too, but their town wasn't out, thank goodness. And I remember we went to Burger King and we got some food from there, and then we drove all the way back home. And that took a while. So we just drove all the way there to get food and come back home. And that was probably like an hour of a drive at least, and then another hour back home. But we didn't have a choice because the whole town was out. We couldn't go get food in our town. We had to go all the way to Jonesboro to get some food. And it was just a crazy, crazy mess. And then finally, one of our neighbors came to us and he said, "Hey, I got some extra generators. You guys can borrow one of mine if you want." So he gave us a generator, and thank goodness we got power back on. Thank you for that nice neighbor who did that for us. And we had the power back on, but it wasn't fantastic because the lights would flicker and stuff sometimes, especially when I was using the Xbox, because as soon as the power went back on, I went straight back playing XX Tricky on the Xbox. So yeah, that was my crazy ice storm story. And I have a lot of other crazy stories too. And I guess since this video is only 7 minutes, I might as well tell another one, I guess. So another time, let me see if I can think of a really bad storm story. Okay, I got one. Another time, I was playing in my room. Who knows what I was doing, because like I said, I can't remember everything. There was this real bad storm coming, and we just thought it was just going to be a bad thunderstorm. That was it. That's all we thought. Nope. Turns out we got half of a hurricane. I think it was half of a hurricane from Florida. I think. I can't really remember, so I could be wrong. But it was so bad. I remember I was in the kitchen. I think I was helping my mom with the dishes. And out the window, you can just see the trees like shaking like crazy. They were like really shaking through the wind. And it was just, I could see lightning outside. It was getting pretty bad. And then of course, you know what happened? Power went out. Like I said, our house is really old, and this happened every time there was a bad storm. So yeah, our house pretty much sucked when it comes to bad storms, because the power would just go out all the time. And sometimes it would just even go out during the summer. But that's for another day. I'll tell a story about that when it went out in the summer. And that sucked. But anyways, let me see. I saw it like really raining out there, and I'm like, are we getting a tornado? You know, because when I was little, I was always scared that we were going to get a tornado and our house was going to be sucked away up in the sky. And power went out, and we were bored to death. And we can just hear storming and thunder and lightning outside. And when all that was going on, I went into my dad's room, and I was bored, of course, because I was a little kid and I didn't have no TV, and I couldn't see in my room to play with my toys and stuff. So Dad had bought a lantern from Walmart, and he brought it into the room, and we turned that on, and he entertained me for like a couple hours doing puppet shadows and stuff in the sky and all that. And then I think after a while the power came back on. So that one's not too crazy, just a bad little thunderstorm that happened. And also here's a bonus story. And this is no storm, but this is funny. So you guys might want to sit down and eat popcorn or whatever and listen to this one, because this one is going to be funny. So anyways, I remember I had two chihuahuas back then. Two little chihuahuas. I had a brown chihuahua and I had a white chihuahua, and they were really misbehaved chihuahuas. They didn't really listen. We tried training them and they wouldn't listen to us, and they just got in trouble all the time. They would chew stuff up. They used to chew on my littlest pet shops I had, but luckily I think they were knockoff ones, so we're pretty good on that. But I think they chewed my real ones too. Excuse me. Anyways, so I was sleeping. This was late at night. I was sleeping in my room, and all of a sudden, I hear the chihuahuas yapping their little heads off. They're like roof, 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 like they're barking like crazy. And I was wondering what the heck was going on. So I was the first one up, and I don't know. My parents slept like rocks, I guess. So I went in the kitchen where I heard the barking, and there was something flopping around on the kitchen floor. And I'm like, what in the world is that? It was a freaking bat. There was a bat in the kitchen. It was just crazy. He was sitting there barking at a bat, and I think it was my white chihuahua. I can't remember their names, so I have to call them by colors because I can't remember their names. And he was just barking like crazy at it, and I can see its little ears moving and just flopping around like crazy. And so I went and woke my parents up, and they came in there, and Dad was trying to catch the thing, and the chihuahua was barking its head off, and the bat was flying. I don't know why, but the fridge was opened for some reason, and the bat was like flying and trying to fly inside the refrigerator, and Dad was trying to sit there and catch it. And I think it was a vampire bat too, or not a vampire bat, or whatever you call those bats that suck blood. I guess you call them that. I don't really know. But anyways, luckily my chihuahua didn't get hurt by it, but he could have. And so my dad finally caught the bat with his bare hands and with a rag, and I thought he was freaking crazy for that because he could have gotten bit. And he got the thing and he showed me and my mom was freaking out saying, take it outside, take it outside. And my dad, he was thinking about keeping it to keep the smeggitos, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, to keep the bloodsuckers away. That's what I'll call them, because we used to get them. We got them so bad in the summer. I mean, our legs would get bit like crazy every summer. They would just fly in our house and just bite the heck out of us, and there was nothing we could do about it. We did get some bug zappers though, and that kind of helped. But anyways, so he threw the bat outside, and I still remember that to this day. I can't believe how funny that is. It just makes me laugh all the time when I think about that. Anyways, I guess that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed my stories, and if you guys like me telling stories, I will tell a lot more, because I have a lot more stories, crazy storm stories, and just stories in general that are nuts. I'll have to tell you, the next story I have to tell is the time the power went out in the summer. And guess what? It didn't just went out one day. It was out for like, let me see if I can remember. If I remember right, it was out for quite a while. I think it was out for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah. It was so hot. It was like a heat wave there, and of course our house was lucky enough to get the power shut off because it's an old house. But I'll save that story for another day. And I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And I got paws. They're just cheap Walmart paws, just like this cat head. But I mean, they work. I think they match pretty well with my cat costume because it has sharp claws. These are just like really old werewolf claws. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye!